go the hydrogen peroxide way and go through catalase, or what you would call go through the electron respiratory exchange, or which they call cellular respiration, you still going to get H3O. The body can only use H3O. So the body, the whole thing is to conserve energy. If I don't have to go through many different changes to get the H3O2, then I can conserve that energy. Then that energy can go to producing something called catalase, glutathione. Glutathione is basically a different type of molecule to help you detoxify and regenerate your cells. So when you drink H3O2, H3O2 is a very, very quick reaction to turn into H3O, which is jellified structured water. And it's the water that's already within inside of your cells. But we do breathe in less dense water. That's what air is. You know, everything around us is made from water constituents. Even us, we were once aquatic people. In order to get into this realm and be called a human being, you got to come through a womb. In order to come through that womb, a water seal called the placenta have to be what? Broken, and then you come through your mother's cervix. So you know, water is everything. Water is life. Water, you can find water in a crystallized structure. You can find water in a gasified structure. You can find water in all these different type of structures, and that's because everything around us is basically was created to come from water molecules. So the best water for human beings would be H3O2, and that is from fruits. So I did a video, and the video was on Hollywood Unlocked. Man, what else that video was on now, B? Man, they put it up. They put it on Say Cheese, and basically, Tasha K took a 2-hour and 30-minute video I did talking about water. She cut 17 seconds out of it, and and what I said on there was drinking spring water was unnatural. Man, everybody on there clowning me and everything. Well, they didn't listen to the whole presentation. And in the presentation, I showed why drinking water for human beings was unnatural, and actually going to a fruit, you know, since we're upright people, you know, and go to an actual fruit tree and pick your actual fruit and eat it and bite into it and get the water constituents from there. And how when you eat your fruit, you actually not only getting the liquefied gel that you need, but you're getting all of the minerals that you need, you're getting amino acids that you need, the phytonutrients that you need, and the fruit actually have its own DNA. But when you drink spring water, the DNA, the deoxyribonucleic acid that's in the spring actually come from the marine family. So you drinking fish DNA, you drinking crab DNA, you drinking all types of stuff that's in that spring DNA. But when you actually eat your fruit, you eating the DNA that's a part of the fruit. People don't know that fruit have its own DNA, especially like strawberries. Strawberries is one of the major fruits that have its own DNA. It has its own chromosome. Mango, coconut water, all of these things have their own. So then you have to ask yourself, well, how do these things get water? Of course, they get it from the aquifer. Of course, they get it from springs. But when the watermelons is sucking that water in through the vine, when it go through the vine, it hits something called hyperphobia material, or hydrophilic and hydrophobia material, and it changes the structure of the water while it's in the fruit. Then the sun hits down on it and hits on them leaves. You have something called chloroplasts inside of these plant leaves, and then inside the chloroplast you have cells or these pigments called chlorophyll, and then it goes through something called photosynthesis. When it goes through photosynthesis, it goes through something called biophotomodulation, and that's one of the rooms I got, which is called biophotomodulations, because human beings go through photosynthesis too, especially melanated beings. So when you go through that, you actually change the structure of the water. Same thing, and what I did was I asked the question to a people, you know, you can jump in the water from a high altitude and you will hit the water and the water will feel like concrete. You can slowly walk into the water and you can slowly sink. You know, a plane can fall 33,000 feet from in the air, hit the water, and it'll break up like a piece of glass, showing you whatever element or the force or the viscosity that you bring to the water actually changes the structure of the water. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same type of concept. It's just these things are not in the textbook. And I notice our people, we like to regurgitate what the textbooks say. And we talking about a school that was built by people that created eugenics and trying to kill 2/3 of the world. And I tell everybody, they're not going to put anything into these textbooks that's going to make you a thinker and that's going to free your mind, because they actually make money and they benefit off of us being dumbed down and being silent. So we got a lot of people that come on these shows and sound super smart, and they want to pull up all of these articles, and they act like scientists don't lie. They act like the educational school system is not rigged. It's a bunch of things that are solidified that are truths that's not in the textbooks. And that's the reason why you have different books. So I want to run and get the book real fast, if you will let me, just to show y'all what I'm talking about.
Yeah, my brother. Once again, family, shout out to Dr. Yahki Awakened, man. He's doing his thing. Let me get rid of a troll. Let me get rid of a troll real quick. Yeah, I also want to remind y'all, Dr. Yahki will be at Gathering of the Masters in August. I believe it's August 11th. He will be speaking. He's going to be the last speaker on August 11th. Get your live stream tickets, family. Do not miss this. I'm going to put the link again in the chat for y'all. Well, here we go, right here. Water in the Cell. Yeah.
So this is one book. It's called Water in the Cell. It's by Dr. Gerald H. Pollack. Y'all make sure y'all read up on this. It's plenty other books, but this is a book that y'all really going to love. This is called The Fourth Phase of Water, Beyond Solid, Liquid, and Gases and Vapor. Right. You know what I'm saying? And if you go through just different parts of this book, it'll actually give you the structure of H3O2. Now, if you know math and you do math correctly, you can actually find and get these structures, y'all. They exist. There's over 100 different scientists that did experiments to figure out these things. And then when you look at fruit and you really break down your fruit, you know, because I'm a food scientist, when you really break down your food and you start doing these own experiments and you follow the experiments, because he give you the instructions on how to do the experiments, you will come to the same conclusions, that there is many different types of water that have its own molecular weight and molecular structure, and you can change the water by talking to it. You can change the water by putting certain frequencies and vibration to it. You can change the water by introducing it to certain type of magnetism. There's many different ways you can change the water. And I'm not the only person saying this. I just was the first black person to really bring it, so-called black person to bring it to the black community. So it sounded real whack, but man, this people been talking about this stuff for decades, man. The elder, Baba Reese Latham, he haven't drunk water in 50 years, brother. 50 years. I got another Baba in Ethiopia, haven't drunk water in 50 years. I got another brother in Jamaica, haven't drunk water, H2O spring water, in 22 years. They're only getting their water from a plant source, or what you would call fruit. And if you look at us on a biochemical molecular structure, if you look at our physiology, and if you look at our anatomy, that's what we were created to get our water from. We was created to get it from the air by breathing and get it from our fruits, man. And that's just the flat out truth. It's just that people want to regurgitate what their slave masters have taught them, and they don't want to do the real search. See, a lot of people want to research. No, let's go out and do the search, and then be a critical thinker and start doing the experiments. We don't want to spend the money on experiments. People don't want to fund these private schools to do the experiments. So we got a bunch of people that just Google and then look up Google Scholar articles, and then they're regurgitating what they hear, and they're not doing these experiments on themselves or on people or on certain things. So only thing you hearing is a bunch of intellectual fighting, but who's the source of this knowledge is your slave master. So we're not getting nowhere. And that's what's going on.
Indeed. Yo, one time, speaking of water, one time when this happened to me, I was like, Yahki would be a great person to ask this question to. Yo, so one day, all right, so we're talking about water, and I've heard speakers before talk about, and just talking about air, they've talked about the harmful effects of the air conditioner. You know, like how we want air, you know, we may get air outside, a cool breeze, air conditioner. That's not the same as a breeze, a cool breeze, or some air from outside. So one day I was, I get water delivered to me sometimes. And I had some, what water was this? I don't know if it was Mountain Valley Spring. I don't know. It might've been Saratoga. I think it was Saratoga, but I had some water delivered. This was right before the summer, this winter. I had some water delivered. And I guess I didn't know the water was out there. So it stayed out all night, but it was out in the cold. So it was nice and cold when I brought it inside. Opened up that mug, man, drunk that shit. That shit tastes good like a mug. I said, wait a minute. I said, hold up. I said, is water getting cold from outside different from it being a refrigerator? Talk to me about the air, that if the air conditioner is harmful, does that also mean our refrigerator is harmful? And because water is storing things or whatever. So is it a different coldness when my water is cold from being outside versus being cold from a refrigerator, my brother?
I mean, I would say that because to me personally, just from the research and searching that I have done, fasting, praying, meditating, getting downloads from ether, and just really, really being out here in the field, man, we in a simulation anyway. You really can't say this stuff is natural anyway, whether you outside in front of the sun. To me, the sun and the moon is a fake stimulation. The sun outside right now, especially this new sun since this solar eclipse, and this stimulator that they didn't put on net. So I don't think we've been in the original sun for thousands of years, to be honest to you. Just like I know for a fact that the moon was created as well by these higher beings. So in this observatory facility or faculty. So this is a simulation. When you're in a simulation, it's not real anyways. So the same way that you go outside and you can go through biophotomodulation and you can go through photosynthesis, you can do that same exact thing with a near infrared light in a room somewhere and get the same results. Now, will one be closer to source than the other? Yes, but it was all still created by an entity. And if it was created by an entity, then that means it's not here. What's real and what's original was never created. It always was and always will forever be. So, I mean, I don't really think that it's really harming us like we say it is. I mean, anything unnatural will harm us in a way, but I don't really think it's harming us like that. And it's the same thing. If anything, what's going to harm you more is the radiation that's coming from the air conditioner and the radiation that's coming from the refrigerator, and the radiation that's coming from the microwave, not actually what you putting in it. But then again, like I said, everything around us have radiation emitting from it. Technology is killing us. But if you look at the sun for what it is, and if you look at the moon for what it is, this is advanced biological technology. When you look at your flesh, or what I call your meat suit, your avatar, you are a sodium battery. You know what I'm saying? You have the electrical impulse nervous system connected to it called the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. This is a vehicle. So when you look at the host, which is consciousness projecting or driving this vehicle called the biological entity, or what we call the body, this is biological ancient technology as well. So, when you start getting into, the thing of real and fake, we got to start being very detailed. How real and how fake? We're going to talk about food. You talking about GMO food, which is a fake food. You talking about hybrid, which is a fake food. You talking about the original food, which is still a created food. You know what I'm saying? Because when you really, really start studying, you go back into source, a lot of people were breatharians, where they were breathing air and getting all of their nitrates and all of their minerals and stuff just by breathing consciously. So I learned through the 15 years of me doing this, brother, is to stop playing that game. You know what I'm saying? Honest with you, because everything is artificial. The world is polluted. The ground is polluted. The water is polluted. Only thing that we can do is raise our vibratory resonant frequency and make this shift, because the planet is shifting. We already into the 5D, I believe. I feel like we already there. The only thing we can do is keep raising our collective consciousness and keep shifting and hiring ourselves through these dimensions of densities, brothers, to be honest with you, because everything is fake and everything is artificial. Rich, we think that we actually under a natural sun, and we not. We think we under a natural moon, and we not. We've been observed by different higher dimensions of beings. You know what I'm saying? We think that we're breathing in natural air, and we not. We see them spraying chemtrails over us. They have something called a cloud maker. Birds are not even real no more. They're finding birds with cameras and batteries in them. You know what I'm saying? They got objects. Somebody hit a bee, not a bee, but a wasp the other day, and the wasp was mechanical. So we are in a total different, we're in a fake simulation environment. We're coming from one simulator to another one. You know what I'm saying? And this goes all the way back to, what I would call the Garden of Eden. And you do get into, the biblical aspect of these things. And we can go to many different religions. So when something is created for you, most of the time it's a simulation. Notice Adam and Eve, or Adam and Kawar, whatever we want to call these beings, was in this garden, right? And then when you start reading in Hebrew, it talked about them being in a garden, which is an enclosed environment. They had their own shelter, their own water, they had their own sun. And then the moment that they went against God, guess what he did? He kicked their asses out of that simulation and put them in another harsh simulation. So even in the beginning, when you read in the book of Genesis, the creator created them in a simulation. It wasn't even natural. And then the moment that they sinned against whoever we call this creator, he kicked them out of the garden and put a angel there to guard them from re-entering back into the garden. And then they went into another simulation that was more harsh. So man, when you really start really thinking about this, and that's what I was talking about with Nabi the other day, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really doing here? Like, what's the purpose and the point here? And it's to experience, man. So, you know, I'm learning to change my lingo, Rich. I'm not here to heal you, because, you know, only you can heal you. Only your body
Hey, Yahki, I don't mean to cut you off, but my question was going to be, so are you saying that everything is a placebo, and the best healer is one that could convince the people, change the person's belief system that they are being healed? Not necessarily that the thing itself is healing them, but the one that could convince the people. It's
called the biology of belief. Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about it all the time, where you can have a certain belief system and it can change your biology. You see, they do that with the placebo pill. It's a sugar pill. People go to the doctor with cancer. They did this experiment where the doctor, they believe in the programming of the doctor healing them so much that the doctor gave them a sugar pill and gave the other person an actual chemotherapy pill or the radiation pills. And then the person that got the sugar pill, with that belief that the doctor was going to help them, actually had biological changes within their physical structure. So, you know, belief actually really do change the biology. But the belief changes the biology, because when you believe on something and you have faith in it, it changes the electrical impulses inside of the body. You know, at the end of the day, we're talking about alkaline and we're talking about acids. We're talking about electron donors and we're talking about electron stealers. Electron stealers is something that actually come inside the body, steal your electrons, which is these feminine negative charged particles inside the body that keep your body in a balance of homeostasis. Stress is electron stealer. You see that? Arguing and fighting, having too much cortisol or stress hormones inside of the bloodstream is electron stealer. You see that? Putting actual rubber on the soles of your feet, or what you would call really a soul catcher, because that's what tennis shoes is. Tennis shoes are tennis shoes are soul catchers.
Soul catchers. Shit. Come on, brother.
Even though they different, look, you got two types of souls, right? You got the soul of your feet, and then you got the soul that's inside of this biological entity that we call the human body, right? It's a reason why it's pronounced the same, but it's spelled differently. The universe don't know that it's spelled the same. The universe hear the syllables of these things. So when you put on tennis shoes, you put on soul catchers. But notice when you take those tennis shoes off and you get rid of that rubber and you put your actual feet on the ground, then you're able to really ground and earth out all of the electrons from Mother Earth are emitted through your body, and all of the protons which run around on that atom axis that's stealing the electrons leave the body, and then you can heal. So at the end of the day, you can measure thoughts. Thoughts is measured. This is on paper that you can measure thoughts. Thoughts are above your head. You see what I'm saying? Right. And then according to the frequency that you vibrate at, you're able to reach these thoughts. And then once you reach these thoughts and you reach the frequency of that emotion to that thought, you can manifest that. And that's how your life become your reality, based off the frequencies and the thoughts that you shift your actual consciousness to, right? Yes. The same thing with a belief system. If you truly believe in something, it will be. And that's all magic and manifestation is, brother. So the placebo effect is very, very real. Herbs work because herbs are electron donors. Belief system work because a belief system is an electrical impulse by the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. That's what's conveying these melanin neurotransmitters. That's either going to be an electron stealer or electron donors. Believe it or not, your clothes. Your clothes have certain hertz and frequencies to them. Cotton, linen, these are higher in the energetic frequency. Do you see what I'm saying? Especially when you measure them in millivolts. But if you put on something like polyester, it actually takes the resonant frequency of your body and make it lower. That's why most
nylon.
You see what I'm saying? And these things lessen the actual electron donors and become a electron stealer. So when you really look at what's going on with us, since we have created technology, since we got these companies and created azo dyes to color our shirts, and we got computers, and we got all of these different stimulants, we're getting away from our real true self. And your real true self is the soul and the spirit. And I believe that all of this technology is actually being created by higher beings from different dimensions, using our body as hosts and then giving it to one another. And it's distracting us for really, really building and focusing on rebuilding our spiritual temples. Because again, our spiritual temples are being decayed and becoming corrosive, and it's breaking down because we are in this simulation. So I think getting away from all of this technology and spending more time with self, spending more time in prayer, spending more time in meditation, spending more time in fasting, these are all things that are electron donors that help rehabilitate the spirit, because that's what it's coming to. Because, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, me and you have to transition from this flesh, whether you reincarnate and come back in another entity or you go on to new different planes of densities. One day we have to leave here. Yahki got to leave this flesh one day, just like Rich got to leave that flesh one day. So what should we really be focusing on? We should be focusing on increasing our quality of life and increasing the experience while we're here. And it's hard to experience true creation if we in a simulation, or if we sick all the time and we stuck into our bodies because our nervous system got pains in them, and we on our deathbeds and we can barely even breathe because our lungs have too much mucus built up inside it, or you got calcium bone spores built up because you super acidic. It's hard to really live in reality and figure out your purpose.